The rise of the dollar empire. Have you ever stopped to wonder how one country's money became the most powerful currency on earth? Why is it that from buying oil in the Middle East to investing in global markets, the US dollar is always the currency of choice, and how America turned its currency into a global weapon? This isn't just a financial story. It's a story of war, politics, oil, power. Let's rewind the clock. After World War II, most of the world was in ruins. Cities were bombed, economies were broken, and countries were desperate to rebuild. But one nation stood untouched, rich, and ready to lead: the United States. In 1944, world leaders gathered in a small town called Bretton Woods in New Hampshire. It was here they made a decision that would shape the global economy for generations. They agreed to make the US dollar the central currency of the world, linking all major currencies to the dollar, and the dollar to gold. But as time passed, America started spending heavily, especially on the Vietnam War and big domestic programs. The US printed more dollars than it had gold to back them up. The idea was simple: if you trust America, you trust its money. And at the time, America had more than half of the world's gold reserves. It was the perfect setup. For a while, everything worked smoothly. Countries used dollars for trade, and the US promised they could always exchange them for gold. This created a problem. Foreign countries began to doubt the dollar's value. They started demanding gold in exchange. In 1971, President Richard Nixon made a shocking announcement. The US would no longer exchange dollars for gold. Just like that, the dollar became a fiat currency, meaning it was backed by nothing but faith. Normally, this would cause a collapse in trust. But what happened next was a masterclass in economic strategy. The United States struck a secretive deal with Saudi Arabia, the biggest oil exporter in the world. The agreement: Saudi oil would only be sold in US dollars. In return, the US would provide military protection and arms. It was genius. Now, if any country wanted to buy oil, and every country needs oil, they had to first get US dollars. This created constant global demand for dollars. Countries began stockpiling them. Oil exporters invested their profits back into the US economy, buying US Treasury bonds and assets. This arrangement came to be known as the Petrodollar system, and it locked the world into dollar dependency. The dollar wasn't just a currency anymore. It became the fuel of the global financial engine. Power, sanctions, and the future of the dollar. With the dollar now embedded into global trade, America gained a superpower no empire had before: financial dominance without force. Other countries started using dollars for more than just oil. Global trade, loans, bank reserves, and even real estate deals in London and Dubai began happening in dollars. Today, over 85% of all foreign exchange transactions involve the US dollar. About 60% of all global central bank reserves are held in dollars. Why? Because everyone needs dollars. The US Treasury is considered the safest investment in the world. Even if two countries like Japan and Brazil want to trade with each other, they often still use dollars as the middle currency. The US can sanction countries by cutting off access to the dollar-based financial system. It can freeze foreign assets and shut down trade. We've seen this with Iran, North Korea, Venezuela, and Russia. No missiles, no troops, just financial isolation. And it works. So what does this mean for the United States? It means America can borrow money more easily than any other country. It can run huge deficits and still find buyers for its debt. It also gives America unmatched economic power. But here's the big question: can the dollar remain this powerful forever? In recent years, cracks have started to show. Some countries are getting tired of being so dependent on a currency they don't control. China has been quietly pushing its own currency, the yuan, for international trade. It's making deals with countries like Russia, Iran, and Brazil to use local currencies instead of the dollar. Russia, after facing heavy US sanctions, began dumping dollars and buying gold and Chinese currency. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are exploring creating a new shared currency to reduce their reliance on the dollar. Even some U.S. allies are experimenting with non-dollar oil deals. At the same time, the rise of digital currencies like Bitcoin and central bank digital currencies is creating new paths for international payments, ones that don't need dollars at all. But despite these challenges, the U.S. dollar still holds the throne. Why? Because replacing it isn't easy. The euro is stable, but Europe lacks a unified political and military system like the U.S. and they're too volatile. At least for now. No other country has what the U.S. has. The world's largest economy, the deepest financial markets, the most powerful military, and a global network of allies and institutions. China may be rising, but its currency is tightly controlled and not fully trusted. Whether it was Rome, Britain, or Spain, power always shifts. And if one day a new system replaces the dollar, it won't happen overnight. It'll happen quietly. One trade deal, one currency swap, and one financial crisis at a time. The dollar's dominance may seem unstoppable today, but the forces of change are always moving. So for the moment, the dollar remains king. It's about power, influence, and the invisible threads that connect every country on Earth. But here's the truth. Every empire that dominated the world eventually declined. The world is slowly exploring alternatives. So what does this mean for you? It influences your country's inflation, interest rates, cost of fuel, and value of your currency. It affects your local economy and your future. Even if you don't live in America, the dollar affects your daily life. Understanding how the dollar came to dominate the world isn't just about money. The U.S. dollar may have started as just a piece of paper, but today it's a symbol of global control, and the story is far from over. If you liked the video, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep and real stories about how the world truly works.